Hi, this is Em, and today I'm going to laminate some of these little pressed flower arrangements. And I got some new laminate, which is it's a matte rather than the shiny, and I thought I'd do a couple in the shiny and a couple in the matte, and then we'll compare and contrast the results so you can see what you think about the two different kinds of finishes. I will also do one where I showed you how I glued these down, so when I'm laminating, where I spot glue, you'll understand what I mean when I say spot glue. And that's pretty much what we're going to do today. For those of you who like to not hear my thoughts and the real-time variant, simply fast forward along the timeline, or go to the cog for settings and you can move this along up to 2 times faster. First thing you're going to need is some flour, and then of course you're going to need some paper or any kind of other surface that you want to put these on. I just brought a couple of different scraps because we're just going to do something real small just to do the technique real quick. So let's set these aside. Gonna need, this is just regular Elmer's glue that I have in this little bottle, makes it real easy to apply, and then scissors, toothpick, tweezers. I think for this I want to do something on one of a dark background, and these I think I just cut out of a scrapbook, and I'm just going to use these orange. These are Montbretia, and I'm just going to do something real small. So the first thing you want to do is plan your arrangement. And this is going to get laminated. You just want to make sure that you have enough room around your border area so that when you cut the laminate, there's enough laminate stuck down around these edges that when you cut it, it isn't going to lift off. And let me show you what I mean by that. Here's one that I did where we have to put it through the laminator again because it didn't get fully laminated. You can see where, and this may even be too close to the border because this isn't laminated down real good. This part is. This part is. And again, I don't know how it's showing up in the camera. But this part around here is not, and it's not even laminated to the border. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to save this or not, but it's not laminated enough, so we'll put it through again and see if we can solve our problem. And I think if we put these close enough, we'll be able to have enough room. I'm going to take this little bit of stem off and put that down there. So we're going to try it. We'll see what happens. And all I do is get my glue. And if you're going to laminate something, all you need to do is spot glue. All you want it to do is to not move when you're laminating it. So a spot there. That's really it. And then I'm going to put it down where I want it. Try to leave enough room from here to here, hopefully. Maybe move it down just a little bit. The glue's showing, so I'm going to, same here. A little bit of spot glue. Gonna have to be fairly close to give it enough room there. And same thing here. And then I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. Or you can take a piece of paper towel if you don't think it's going to stick to anything. And then once it's laminated, you won't really see the glue. And then I've got a little thing of water behind me. I'm going to stick the nib in the water and then put this back on so that it doesn't clog up. Alright, so I've decided to use that one, so we'll put these off to the side. Now we're going to decide, do we want to put any greenery on there? I brought a little bit of greenery over here. Let's see if we want to embellish it with something. I'm going to turn the camera off while I finish gluing this and making decisions, but basically I just wanted you to get the idea of just spot gluing, so I'll be right back. Something else that you can do, if you really like your background, you want to say, I want to use that, and I'm thinking that maybe I'm not going to have enough border around the edge for the laminate to stick, what you could do is take some paper, this is just a paper stack, and try to find something that you like the background, play around and see, and then you could border it. You could put this on top of another background and then cut your background out and then laminate it all together, and then that way the laminate would be sticking to both your background and your arrangement, and then you don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to adhere enough. I don't think that, of course, you want to find the color that you like. I would probably excite it up personally. I kind of like that scroll. I kind of like this personally. But there's a lot of different things that you could use. You could use book pages. There's a quasi book page in here somewhere. If you thought that would look nice behind it. Oops, good or getting. You could use book pages if you thought something like that would look nice behind it. So you're not just limited to one thing. You can do layering and then laminate your layer. And here's what I ended up doing for the arrangement. So Martin Brescia, Artemisia, and I always seem to have to use some little embellishment to hide where it all comes together, and that's just a little bit of Queen Anne. So let's start laminating. So here's the laminator that I'm going to use. I've had it for, gosh, I don't know, 20 years or more. It's an Iveco. It's EL12, which just means you can put a 12-inch width through there. I'll put a link to some laminators down below, and they're pretty affordable nowadays. You can try using an iron. I've used an iron before, and I've also used my heat press. I do find that I prefer the laminating machine, generally speaking, but not everybody has laminators, so play around and see what you think. Laminators come with what they call a folder that you can put your stuff in. I personally just tend to use a piece of paper. This is just a piece of paper folded in half because nothing that I'm going to do is very big, and I like to do all of my laminating, all these little bits that we're going to do. I like to do my laminating one at a time. I don't like to put them all in at once. It just gets weird. And then the other thing that we're going to need is scissors and lamination. And again, like I mentioned, we've got two kinds. This is, I believe this is probably 3 mils. And this is going to be, have a gloss to it. And then this one is, like I say, this is new to me, and I want to see how the difference. I've only tried a couple of times the one that I showed you at the beginning that didn't laminate real good because I didn't laminate it enough. So I did play around with a couple pieces. So this is the mat. I just got this on Amazon. It's not very expensive. Again, I'll put a link to that. And it is just, what does this say? 9 by 11.5, 3 mil mat. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is laminate the piece that didn't get fully laminated before. Now I used I didn't use the machine for it. I think I did heat pressing. I used the heat press. So let's see if this helps. And while we're waiting for that to go through, because it's kind of slow, I'm going to open this up, and this opens this way. And then I'm going to get a piece of laminate out. Here's a sheet of laminate. And I'm going to open it if I can. So opening it. The first thing I want to do, let's see how this turned out. Oh yeah, okay. I've had this laminator machine heating up for a while. Oh yeah, perfect. It laminated it. Let me get my cardboard. It laminated it all the way up to the flower. There's no more of that white non-laminated anywhere. The one thing I did notice about the matte laminate and the couple of test pieces that I did do is that if you want to ink the edges without something besides stays on, that this inks better. And I might demonstrate that before we're all done, because I have some down here. Okay, that worked really well. I'm very happy with that. And sometimes I'll turn it over and put it through again. I don't know why these edges caught. Sometimes I'll put it over and turn it, because if it bows a little bit like that, sometimes by turning it over and doing it the other way, you can solve that problem. So let's see if that helps. While we're waiting, now that you've seen the laminate machine in action, I'm going to put it off to the side because we need to start cutting some stuff, and I don't want to set it on top of the laminator, so I'll set that off to the side there, and we'll leave it on. Take a look at this. Yeah, that flattened it. I don't know if you can see, but it flattened it really well. Alright, I'm very happy with that. That's matte. So this is, I want to take and I want to cut this to size. So the next one we're going to do is, I've got two of these done on the same kind of paper. So we'll do one in the gloss and one in the matte. So let's go ahead and do the matte. I want to cut it so that it's a little bit bigger than the item that I want to laminate. Nothing too tacky here. And the other reason why I like to use paper for laminating is because I'm cutting this, some of this laminate's going to stick to the paper because these sides are going to kind of get a little bit kittywampus. Open this up. Put this in. And see, I might not get it lined up perfectly, so some of this laminate might stick, as mentioned, to the paper. Okay. So, here we go. Let's see if it doesn't catch. It sounds like it's catching back there for some reason. Got it laminated okay. Ah, yeah. So I think we'll turn it over and laminate it the other way. But I don't want this catching, so cut that off. Put it more towards the right side of the laminating machine. Maybe I'll have better luck. Now I've got this machine turned on to about 6 mil because I've found that 3 mil, which is what this lamination is this machine, it needs to be hotter than what the mil is. If it's 3 mil, I would need to use a 5 or 6 mil setting on the machine. I just learned that. Okay, that worked really well. Yeah. Now let's do a gloss. Be right back. Okay, so I've cut the piece of gloss laminate, and we'll go ahead and get it sandwiched. And put it in the paper, although this paper is not going to be long enough. Well, I'll turn it this way. And we'll put it in this way. I just like to watch it go in and see if there's any little adjustments that need to be made. So go ahead and wait for this to come out. Okay, let's see what happened. Yeah, that worked. Now, a lot of times what I find happens, let's see if it'll pick it up on camera, is if there's a lot of laminate around the edges, it gets kind of like a ripple. And so what I will do before I turn it to the other side, because it needs to go back through again, is I'm going to cut a little bit of it off. I want to leave enough around the edge so that when I trim it or put it through the die cut, I've got enough to work with. But I just want to get some of that wiggly off. I just find it helps to get smoother. So now I'm going to turn it over to the back side, and we're going to run it through again. My machine's actually broken. I dropped it on the, don't ask me how. I dropped it on the floor several times, and maybe this thing being loose is causing it to, I don't recommend you use, well, it's not really that hot. Yeah. But at least it didn't get hung up this time. So for me, it actually works better without the top on, because, okay. I'm going to turn the machine off. See if you can see the difference. The matte's really matte. Really matte. And when you're walking by, if you just sit these on a table and you're walking by, once this is cut down and you don't see the frosted area around the side, it doesn't look like there's, you wouldn't even know that this has been covered with anything. Whereas this one, you do because you get the glossy. And I like them both. It just depends on what you want to do. But this, if you want to ink around the edges after you cut it, you're probably going to have to use a StazOn or something. Whereas this, like I said, let me get my ink, and I'll show you what happens when you ink the edges. So I got my little, keep this down here. So I just you all know how to, probably most people watching know how to ink edges. Try not to touch the ink portion while you're inking, because you'll get it on the rest of the surface. But what I do after I ink it, because it's, you know, this is still a lamination, Let me bring the camera down a little bit. Is I take a paper towel and I kind of cup it and I pull out away from it and get any that doesn't want to stick to the laminate off. But it does pretty good. There's very little, I don't know if you can see, just residuals. So just to kind of get any extra off. And that should be pretty stable now. So now you have something that you can put on a tag or in your journal. You can do other things with it, but you just use this as an embellishment piece. This one makes a statement in itself, so you could cut it to a shape, or you could cut it at a triangle. You could use it as a tuck spot. And because this dries and isn't sticky laminate, you could maybe even try to do your sewing machine through it if you use a heavier needle and you want to sew on it. You can. It's going to be easier, be more versatile with different kinds of glue because of the matte surface. If you want to use this as a tuck spot again, or do something with it, you can. You can make a tag out of it. There's so many things you can do with the element. If you do want to glue anything, and again, you can try to, I wouldn't hesitate to run this through my sewing machine because this isn't sticky anymore. That's the one nice thing about laminate is it doesn't stay sticky like a contact paper or a packing tape or a cold laminate. And you can, do your words or do some other embellishing, add some lace down the side, anything that you like to do. But you just might have to test the glue. I find that with this glossy surface, it's a lot harder to glue things. Things like glossy surfaces and wax surfaces and things like that, I oftentimes will use carpet tape or sew. So there you go. I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, and I'll turn the camera back on when I'm done and just show you the results for the rest of them. So I'm just finishing up running my shapes through this die cutter, and I thought I'd just turn the camera on real quick and show you what I did. My platens are in horrible shape. I mean, I got to get new ones. That's how well used they are. Bold, icky. So because I've got all this left over, when I make labels for my business, it only takes a half sheet of paper, although the whole sheet of paper goes through the printer. So I've got all these, rather than recycle them right now, I always use them. And so the reason why I'm putting a paper on the bottom next to the platen is because there's so many grooves in the plate, and I don't want it getting onto our arrangements. And then I'm going to put another one on top. I have used removable tape and taped down in 2 spots because this is a magnetized, this surface is magnetized for thinlits, and these will move around, and these will, in other words, the metal won't stay where I put them if I don't tape them down. This is to protect the top for my top plate, which is also not quite as bad, but bad. And because this is going through laminate, I will go through at least twice. My Teflon sheet's moving all around. Makes noise, but that's okay. I should have moved the Teflon sheet out of the way. That's okay too. Alright, so then I'm going to carefully take it off and make sure it's cut all the way through. And it has. So I'll take the tape off, and then take the tape off. Alright, so I'll get this finished up and then I'll show you the results. So here's the results. Let's take a closer look, see what you think. So I'm sure you can probably tell which one is the glossy laminate and which one's the matte. This is oregano and bird's foot trefoil. We already talked about the Montbretia. This is lupin. I don't know what this one's called. I call it the wild one, just so that I know what it is, but I love it. Hold its color forever. All these have been color enhanced. Well, the Status hasn't. Status holds its color forever. But everything else, these hold their color forever. And actually, most all of these hold their color on their own for a really long time, but I still color enhanced them just because. This one, I thought, since I'm going to make a tag, I moved the tag up for the flower to be up higher. I think I want to put a word or something here, or maybe some other, what's the word I'm looking for? Lace or something here to decorate it up. I want to do something else to this, so I left room for that. Status, Astrantia. Yeah. So anyway, that's how it worked out. Thank you for watching, and you have a wonderful day,